Hey, what's up, everybody? Wagey tapping in another court chat. Today, just wanted to discuss the well and how deep this particular well runs. This well is your emotional pool. This is where you can find motivation, where you can find obstacle, where you can find that last little push that you need to do something or an excuse. The emotional well is so deep inside you, and it never really got enough description, discussion, education from your parents, their parents. Most of this is what the generational trauma is from. We were raised by people who were in survival mode, didn't necessarily understand their own emotional pool. They had to focus. Now, because we live in this time of abundance, we live in this time of prosperity, we live in this time of, relatively excess time. There's no real need for survival, but for some reason, people are struggling to live. Dealing with anxiety, dealing with anger, dealing with having that chip on their shoulder from not getting things that they thought they're entitled to, or maybe being given too many things that stifles the fire to progress, to continue. Hope. Sometimes there can be too much of that. Sometimes there can be too little. Arrogance, ego, both of these things are vital, but how realistic are they? How attuned to your actual goals are they? Are you living in some fantasy land that's cushioned by what your mind makes of it? Or are you living in a reality that is built on the discipline that you have for whatever strategies you need to discover the success that you want? The fantasy of what you want versus the reality of what you can have. These things, this is what lies in that well. How attuned are you to what's actually in this well? Are you aware of what you're pouring into yourself that's allowing you to exude that out into reality? Are you aware of what's being poured into you from outside sources so that you can be aware of where you should be welcome and places that you should find scarcity? This well is the most important aspect that a human can come to know, I want to say, especially at this particular point in time, because it's through journeying through this well, hovering somewhere around the bottom for the majority of my life. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was angry. I was frustrated. There was things that I didn't understand, even of myself, because I was absent things. I wasn't, like I mentioned earlier, there were things that maybe I thought that I deserved that I didn't have. Once I came to terms with that, those voids down in your well can be scattered all throughout your body. Different voids that seemed empty, that are drawing, that you're trying to fill, but you might not be sure why. So when I was at my lowest point, it seemed like I was drowning in this well. I was struggling to survive in my own well of emotion. And then I started to take in. I started to embrace what was embracing me in this well. And as I started to embrace my well, as my well was embracing me, I elevated higher and higher in my well. So essentially, I went from drowning to floating on the surface of my well and experiencing me in a different light. Understanding at the bottom of that well, all that pain, that suffering, that anger, that frustration, where it came from, why it was there. As I came to understand and accept the lower aspects of my well, I started to rise. Then, as I ascended through that anger, I found myself in sadness. It was the craziest thing. Because I wanted things. I wanted things for people that I care about. I'm arrogant enough to think that I know what's best for the people that I care about. To some degree, I might have a good idea, but I'm not them, and I'm not allowed to make that choice for them. But I'm sad because they suffer. I never allowed myself to grasp it. I was angry that they wouldn't take my advice, but they would allow me to place deterrent on their fires, but they wouldn't help me prevent their fires from starting. That caused a lot of frustration. I carried that chip on my shoulder for damn near 30 some years. Wait, probably maybe 20 something. But as I came to understand that chip and let it go, I elevated into sadness. Because I understood how they ended up in their situation. As I've come to understand this well, the more that I immerse myself in it, it's almost like time travel. Because once you understand what's in this well, it's a human condition. So the feelings might be similar from human to human, but what trigger them are going to be vastly different. But once you understand the nature of the well and the feelings that reside within the well, you can venture back to places. You can go to other people's places because you understand the feelings that are present. If you choose to step outside of your own perception or perspective and have that little bit of insight for what might be felt through certain situations, if you have enough information, you can piece stories together. Doesn't mean it's 100% accurate, but you'll get at least a better understanding of what was felt. And if you know what was felt, the action taken could make a little bit more sense. Does it excuse it? Not necessarily, but at least you could understand, grasp that. So sadness, I got to sit in sadness. I was so angry I didn't want myself to be sad. I don't know what to do with sadness. For the longest time, I knew not what to do with sadness. Now you just embrace it. You let it embrace you, and then you let that pass. Because there's nothing you can do about it. The sad part is that it's something outside of your control. The anger is that I can have something to do with this. I'm arrogant enough to think that I can control the situation. The sadness is accepting that I have zero control, but I want, I desire, I care. Rising up through that sadness, letting it embrace me, I still find myself there every once in a while, but I float around the top. I've got to embrace the love for me, understand the own love for myself, better how to pour into me so that I can pour into others with care, with provision, with understanding. I get to provide on a different level that I wasn't even aware of before because I hadn't given it to myself. Now I understand how to provide this to others. Attention, validation, love, guidance. I wasn't guiding myself adequately. I get to do these things now from a place of understanding and acceptance that it's your decision to make. But here's enough information. Keep rising up, journeying back to that childhood, finding that 8-year-old kid, getting in touch with that adolescence. Joy, happiness, play. Heard somewhere that the opposite of trauma is play. I get to exist in that most of the time, my baseline. And now I get to sit floating on top of my well. It's vast. It's extremely vast, and I'd rather enjoy exploring it. There's peace there. Even through the anger, the sadness, the love, the joy, the understanding, the peace, it's all there. I get to experience that every day. And it feels profound. So, this well, now my chalice overfloweth with abundance of things, rich, vibrant emotions. And I have more awareness and processing because as it embraces me, I choose to embrace it. Again, whether it be anger, bitterness, resentment, sadness, joy, happiness, I take all of these things on now. I enjoy them all as they come. And I don't hold on to them by force. I let them come, I let them go. And I enjoy the moments as they come. And I look forward to having them more and more. Not preaching the gospel, just my experience. I hope that you better come to understand your well, what resides within your well and why, so that you can continue to make better decisions for yourself and understand that your job isn't to control the decisions of others. On that note, Wages out.